Coming up next, Abby Grant with the Center for Digital Arts. Oh, David. Can we do it again? Sorry, David. Coming up next, Abby Grant with the Center for Digital Imaging Arts. Good afternoon and welcome to Picking Up the Pieces, where we dare to persevere and we help young adults reach their full potential. We'd like to welcome back a returning guest, Abby Grant.
Hi, Kim. How are you doing today?
Fantastic. We're so thrilled to have you back, and we're going to focus on LinkedIn today.
LinkedIn. What can I say about LinkedIn? There's so much to say about LinkedIn. So I use LinkedIn as my personal database. I use it to make connections with people, to stay in touch with people, and to drive traffic to my profile. So there's all sorts of things we can talk about.
Fantastic. There are so many different avenues for LinkedIn. We wonder what we did before LinkedIn.
That's right. I wonder that every day. I have my email up and my LinkedIn profile up all day long, and I go back and forth.
Wow. So it's really it's just a part of the way you do business.
That's right.
It's an everyday tool. Fantastic.
So we probably could start with the profile,
yes,
if you'd like, and we can pull up my profile.
Fantastic. It just came up on the screen. So for people who are not familiar, this is LinkedIn, and it's a way to help people connect with other people. And we thought we'd use Abby as a perfect example of how to create a profile that really draws people in, that helps connect to people. So one of the key features, Abby, you talk about is the picture. Why is a picture so important?
Well, a picture is important for a number of reasons, and the picture should be something professional in nature, because LinkedIn is a business social media site. So it's not Facebook, it's not Twitter. So we want something somewhat professional. Maybe have your friend take a shot of you on their cell phone and post that. And I like it when people have a nice smile on their face.
Right, you want to look very positive, you want to look professional, you want to look polished. I worked with a young man, and he had a picture, and it had a big glass that could have been a beer glass.
Right.
And I said, it looks like you're at a bar. And he said, I was at a restaurant. And I said, but I'm pretty sure that's a beer.
Yeah.
And he said, well, probably. And I said, he said, but it's a good picture of me. And I said, yeah, but it connotes the wrong image.
That's right.
Professional, you want to connect with other people, you want them to think of that you're working professional, that you're very serious about what you do. He said, okay, I'll switch the picture.
Well, because the recruiters are combing through LinkedIn.
Yes.
So external recruiters and agencies, internal recruiters and companies. So if you are looking for work, you might not want to have the cup of beer on your profile, for sure. So the other value of having the photo is if you're out networking, which you should be if you're looking for work,
yes,
and you're meeting people that are out networking, when you go to connect with those people, they might not remember who you are. So that's another reason why the photo is very important. I happen to be a very visual person, and if someone doesn't have a photo, I typically don't remember people's names, which is, I'm not so proud of that, but I do always remember people's faces. So that's another good reason to have your photo up there.
Right, it's another opportunity for people to remember you, to people connect with you, and it's different things. Yeah, everyone connects to something different. I love to look at people's business cards because you see the name written, but then you say their name and then you see their face. And yeah, people love to hear their names, they love to remember, and it's a way to keep it simpler for them to connect with you, and that's really what LinkedIn's about.
Right, and then as we talk further about LinkedIn, and you meet people maybe over the course of several years, sometimes those people come back around and might send me a note to reconnect. When I go to their profile, when they have a photo, completely remember who they are.
Exactly, it's just kind of it's an instantaneous thing. And we talked about before, if you're a professional dog walker, you might be able to have you and your dog on your photo. That's okay.
It's appropriate. So what's appropriate? I mean, I often will say to myself, does this feel appropriate? If it doesn't, then it's not.
Right. It can have a connection. If you're an artist, you could perhaps have a picture of one of your works that you're most proud of, or your signature works, or something like that.
Right. And I know some people that work for colleges that have their school's logo.
Oh, okay.
up there, you know, if they're in an outreach role.
Right.
So it's what's appropriate in the context of why you're on LinkedIn.
Right.
If you're looking for a job, or if you're doing outreach, or you're doing development, or whatever it is. So the other key piece of your profile page is your summary. And LinkedIn is as much about who you are as what you've done.
Yes.
As opposed to your resume, which is really, you know, here's what I can do and here's where I've done it. LinkedIn has a really nice opportunity for you to have a more rich profile and describe what you're passionate about. And in particular, people that are career changers, what a nice way to talk about why you're making that change. And that's what your summary is all about.
Fantastic. And I think if we could pull up your summary again, your LinkedIn profile with your summary, and it talks about kind of who you are, but it also talks about some of the philanthropy that you do. And that's an interesting twist. Tell us why you do that.
Right. So I'm someone that is really committed to giving back. And so I really like having all of my philanthropy efforts right on the top.
Great. And let's run through a couple of those if people can't see it on screen.
Right. So I want to work in a place that has those core values of giving back to the community. And I do a lot of things to give back. And so I like to connect with people like myself that are philanthropists or motivated by doing good. So that's part of why I put that out there right on the top.
Fantastic. So you've got something on there called a guest lecturer at Emerson College, you're a mentor at Swampscott High School, you're a mentor / alumni network at Emerson College. So you've got a nice, you're a reader at Everybody Wins. So it's part of who you are, you're connected with a lot of different people, and that's part of what you do, and you want to connect with other people with similar passions, similar penchants for doing things that you like to do.
Right, right. So that is a really nice place to sort of put out details about who you are. Professionally, your passion, what sort of work you're looking for, why you're changing, why you're doing what you're doing. There also is a place on your LinkedIn profile for skills. And those would be your hard and soft skills.
Yes.
So right now I'm coaching people that are working in the digital imaging arts. So their skills that they would be listing are their software. You know, Photoshop, InDesign, etc. For me, because I've been often in outreach roles, I put things like networking, outreach, connecting, all sorts of things. So that's, again, another opportunity where you can put who you are, what you're good at, what you like to do, and what you've done.
Right, in a different way. I was having a conversation with a couple different people, and I said, you know what, I should put up there all the trainings that I do.
That's right.
Because you don't have those on your resume. People might not know them, but it's a great way. I'm connected with a lot of different nonprofits, a lot of different companies. They might not know. Kim trains in motivational interviewing. Oh, Kim trains peer providers. Things like that.
You should for sure, because I don't think I knew that.
Right.
So that's great. So there's an opportunity for you to talk a little bit more about what you do. The other really strong aspect of LinkedIn is recommendations.
Yes.
So for a number of reasons. So, you know, many people have gone through layoffs recently, and if you've gone through a layoff, I suggest right away you get a recommendation from someone very senior at the company that you were working for, because it validates that, yes, in fact, it was a layoff, as opposed to you were fired or you walked off the job or that sort of thing. And so I suggest that you have a recommendation from most of the places that you've worked, or if you volunteer, maybe you've been out of the job market for a while, get some recommendations from people that you volunteer for or with, so that you get that really built up and somewhat rich. And here's the key thing about recommendations. People have said to me, who would have a bad recommendation? It's really not so much about good recommendations as it is about who you are. When you read through recommendations, you start to get a sense of the person and what they are like to work with or work for, and you start to see the same words.
Right.
And very soon, again, you have another opportunity to convey what you're good at.
Right.
What you're good at. So there's just so much you can do with the profile.
Right, and I like the idea of themes. I do a training for young adults called Core Gift, and it's identifying what you're good at and what you're here to contribute to the community. And that's what we do. We kind of develop what are you good at, and we develop themes. And you start to see, as you ask people about the young person, they ask people that are important to them, that like them, that would give a positive impression of them. And then we develop themes, and we create kind of a core gift statement. And you're sort of creating the same thing. You're creating a statement and what other people feel about you, and it's a combined profile. And it's really
that's
fantastic.
Great. Yeah, that's really powerful.
And to do that on LinkedIn is very important piece, because you want to see what other people are saying about you. And it's a really underused, and even myself, it's an underused resource that people can say nice things, because Jeffrey Gitomer, who wrote the Sales Bible and a couple of different things, he said it's not what you know, it's not who you know, but who knows you.
Yeah, that's lovely.
And if key people know you and endorse you, then you're so much more likely. I'm so much more likely to use my neighbor's plumber because they know everyone and they endorse this plumber.
Sure.
So I'm going to let that plumber into my house and, you know, let
yeah,
them,
right.
you know, because I trust them because they know them and they're going to give them a positive endorsement. Similar to LinkedIn, you know, if someone recommends Abby Grant, then I'm going to be that much more likely to use your services.
For sure. And then when you do recommend someone or someone recommends you, then it posts on the homepage. And that's another way that you can drive traffic to your profile.
Okay.
So you get your profile good to go, you get your summary, you have your photo, you have your recommendations, and now what? So it's a tool.
Right.
So just having it sit there is really not what it's about. It's about using your tool. So after you get your tool good to go, you start to invite people to connect with you. And so how do you do that?
Right, who do you invite? People often say to me, I don't know who to invite.
Right. So there's a couple of different ways you can do that. I go to a lot of networking events. So when I go to an event and I have a nice conversation with someone about their dog or their job or whatever it is, the next day I send a note and I send it in a way like this. Hi Joe, I met you last night at the Salem Chamber of Commerce event. Remember we talked about our dogs? I really enjoyed that. I'm wondering if you would like to stay in touch here on LinkedIn.
Fantastic.
Very simple. I have a photo so that Joe can go look at my profile to remember who I am.
Right.
I reminded him what we talked about and where we met, and so then Joe connects with me.
Right, because if you don't know, I have, you know, about 5 or 6 in my inbox, and I don't know, and I feel terrible. I don't know who these people are.
Yes.
But they didn't give any indication, like even just, oh, I met you at this training, or oh, Kim, you were a trainer here, or oh, we were at this networking event. So at some point, I would love to go back to them and say, really important to me, you know, to link in with people, but it's important so that I know who you are. Could you give me more of an explanation? But then again, it's another step that I need to do that's on my to-do list, and it puts it on me, and I don't always get to them in a timely fashion. So you really, I think it's so key to explain who you are, why you connected, why it would be important to connect, and a little bit about how you knew that person.
Right, for sure. Because right now, I also have about 5 invitations in my inbox. Unfortunately, I will have to delete them. I feel bad about that too, because you know, they are probably someone that maybe I met a month or so ago, but I go to so many things, and even if they just had the photo,
yes,
that would help me, because then I could remember people that way. So so that is a very key thing. Have your good LinkedIn etiquette, for sure.
And it's very important. And people don't mind. Oh, you know, if you go back to people and you're like, oh, I don't want to, you know, you shouldn't link into people that you don't know, because then it's too broad.
Right. There is something on LinkedIn called a Lion. Do you know what Lions are?
No.
Lions are open networkers. They will connect with anyone in the world.
Oh, okay.
So a Lion, often Lions will come to me because I have about 2,000 people on my LinkedIn.
Wow.
And so I'm I'm an active user. Wow. So I come up a lot in searches and that sort of thing. And my rule for LinkedIn is I will connect with anyone that's looking for work or anyone that might hire someone, and then people I meet, of course, too. But Lions will connect with anyone in the world.
Oh, okay.
So that's key. If a Lion comes your way, they're just looking to build their connections. Right. And so, depending on what sort of LinkedIn user you are, you may or may not want to connect with that person.
Wow.
The other way that I find connections is I look at who's been looking at me all day long.
I love how you do
Oh,
this.
it's so great.
Very brazen.
It's really all day long. I just go and see. Now, LinkedIn has a function where you can be a premium user. I don't do that. And so sometimes people look at my profile and they're anonymous. And my feeling is, you know, if you're in a social media site and you're anonymous, this is a social media site.
It's to connect.
That's not so social, is it? So no problem. You want to hide out and look at people, that's great. That's not what I'm on LinkedIn to do. I'm on there to be visible and to know other people. So very often, someone interesting might look at my profile and I go right back at them. Hello, I see you were looking at my profile. We should get to know each other. How about I bring you a cup of coffee and we can have a conversation? I've met a lot of really great people that way, and some people don't like that. And if they don't like that, then they're probably not going to like me.
Right.
But very often, senior level people that have looked at my profile do like that.
Wow.
And they respect that.
Well, it shows initiative. It shows
Right.
self-started. I think it's a fantastic idea. I wouldn't have thought of it before talking about it with you, but I think it's great. If someone takes the time and are interested enough to kind of view your profile, then why not ask them, hey, let's get together. Let's have a conversation. I think that's perfect. It's a great way to expand your network. It's kind of an out-of-the-box way to do it.
Yeah, and the other thing is people sometimes will look at your profile that you haven't talked to in a while.
Yes.
What a great way to reconnect. So when I see someone that I haven't talked to in a while is looking at my profile, I'm so happy to reach out to them too and say, hey, how's it going?
Right.
Haven't talked to you in a while. Look, I'm now at the Center for Digital Imaging Arts. What are you up to? You know, let's go to a networking event together, or whatever it is. So, so that's another way that you can use LinkedIn. So you can make new connections and you can stay connected.
Right.
And that's really one of the best ways to use it is sometimes we meet people and then that's it. We meet them and we have a nice conversation with them and then they just go away. Well, that's really not what networking's about.
Right.
It's about building relationships with people and staying in touch with them. And again, LinkedIn's the perfect venue to do that.
Right, and it's not intrusive, so you can kind of have a, you know, sometimes people carve out a portion of their day to kind of maintain their social media things, and it's a nice way to connect with people that's not intrusive, and people can kind of get back to you as they will.
That's right. And so then the other thing you can do now that your profile is good to go is after you've made connections and you're working your connections and all that good stuff, is to drive traffic to your profile page.
Yes.
So now what does that mean? It means that you're using it as a tool. So there are groups you can join, and there are companies you can follow. And when you start to get out there and sort of have a life on your LinkedIn, people will start to look at your profile more frequently. And so what I do is I typically post some sort of content once a day, sometimes twice a day. Sometimes people will be on LinkedIn and you can tell that they're sitting on their LinkedIn and they're just posting. And I think that's not so much what you want to do because then you start to be, it's not as important when they see you.
Right, it's too much.
It's too much. So
it's content overload.
So yeah, so the way that I post content is I subscribe to, you know, the Harvard Business Review and all sorts of things. And they typically have the little plug-in button for LinkedIn. You just click on it and you share it and you can post it to your update and then you can post it to groups, all sorts of good stuff like that.
Right, it's a fantastic idea. I'm a Boston College alumni. I'm actually a double Eagle. Shout out there to all the other Eagles. And I belong to a lot of their alumni networks. So they have different things. They're doing a career day and kind of an externship day. And it's just a nice way to stay connected with the university in a way that, oh, okay, yeah, I would definitely take on a young student that wanted to learn more about what I do and things like that. And different businesses that I'm a part of, different networking groups that I'm a part of. It's a way to stay connected if you can't go to every meeting and to see what people are doing. So it's a fantastic way to kind of monitor and be part of and then post content. But I think it is key selectively because if you're one of those people who's always on, then I think people tend to tune you out.
Right, right. And I'm on it quite a lot. So I have to watch that. I have to be on to myself about that because I really enjoy being on LinkedIn.
Right, no, it's fantastic. 2,000 people. I have 300 and I was quite proud of myself. 2,000, wow.
Yeah, well, and remember I'm in an outreach role. So everyone is not going to have 2,000 people, you know, and so it's a lot about what I'm doing professionally.
Right, and that's the main part of your job is connecting with people who might have jobs. When I was at the BU Center for Psychiatric Rehabilitation, that was a huge part of my job, and I was out like you 4 nights a week and, you know, connecting and doing that thing. But now I'm more in a training role and a consultative role, so I'm more in meetings and doing things like that. So I think that's important for people to think about what is the person's role, what do they do there, and how do they build those contacts.
Correct, yeah.
I think that's a key piece. Now, I think I'd like to make the distinction, too, between some people are connected to Twitter and some people are connected to Facebook. And we were even kidding the other day, my picture comes up when I phone you, and I'm not even sure how that's happening, but things are very connected. They're interconnected these days.
And I don't know how that happened, but LinkedIn photos are now coming up on my phone. And and I actually really like that. And you know, I think it's great. And so, but there is a distinction, and I think for me, I'm connected to Facebook and Twitter through my LinkedIn. So when I post on LinkedIn, I can tweet what I'm posting about, and then I can post it to my Facebook. But I think it's really important when we're talking about social media to remember that it's very permanent.
Yes.
It's very public. And I went to a talk recently, and the CMO of BoLoco was on Twitter. And guess what? So was one of his employees, and she was complaining about her job. Wow. And so he wrote back, well, you have that job for now.
Ouch.
Yeah.
Ouch. So you just,
So
they're watching.
we need to be cognizant that our employers are out there, people that might work for us are out there, and so that's the thing about social media is...
And it's got a timestamp so people know exactly what you're doing when. I knew a group of
That's
friends
right.
and they were all doing things and they kind of called someone out and said, you're not paying attention, you're not doing what we're doing. And they said, you were on Facebook. And the person said, no, I was not. And they said, well, here's the timestamp. You weren't doing what you needed to be doing. You were on Facebook. And it's very easy to see what people are doing when and how. So you have to be very aware of that, and especially if your boss is seeing it, if senior members are seeing it. You had another story about senior people kind of viewing what junior members are doing.
So I go to some content-driven breakfast, and a CEO of a really large ad agency in Boston was talking about Facebook and how when she hires interns, they very often will ask her to connect on Facebook, and very often she does, and then lo and behold come the photos of them on Thursday night with their shirts off and their beer bongs, and you know, or she was telling a story of one intern who was complaining about his job on Facebook and you know how much he hated it, and when would Friday come? And meanwhile, she's reading this, you know. I mean, that's just.
And the next thing he's going to be in his office like, I'm ready for a better opportunity.
Yeah.
And she's going to be like, well, you were on Facebook at work and you were also talking negatively about it, and other people can see that. So I think when you're first starting out your career, sometimes you don't realize the impact, because once it's out there, and they're connected. You might say one thing on Facebook, but you have to really view how people are seeing it. So it's a key piece.
It's a very key piece. And again, that word I always like to ask is this appropriate?
Right.
And if you ever feel that something you're posting or someone you're connecting to, it's not appropriate, then it's not. Trust your instincts.
Right. And if you ever have a question, link into someone and say, you know what, I'm thinking of putting this up. Is this how I should do it? And, you know, talk to someone who, you know, is savvy on LinkedIn. And, you know, kind of run it by someone else, because sometimes it's hardest to view your own things.
Right. And then the other component of LinkedIn is connecting. So I'm a connector. I will connect really most people to people I know if it's appropriate. So I have, recently there was someone who was looking for a receptionist role, again at a large ad agency, and I happen to know the CEO. So she asked me to connect her to the CEO of the ad agency. You know, that's really not an appropriate use of connecting.
Right.
Because the CEO of this ad agency is going to kick me off his LinkedIn if I'm asking, you know, anyone that's looking for any sort of position there. But more appropriately is to ask for networking advice and job-seeking advice, or I'm expanding my network, and using those sorts of words as opposed to, you know, hey, there's a job at your company, I'm looking to talk to you about that. Is the sales position still open?
Right.
What I advise people to do if they would like me to send them along to one of my connections is write, hi, I'm in a job search, I'm looking to expand my network, and I am looking for some advice. Abby told me you're a very helpful person. Would you be willing to have a phone conversation or a quick meeting with me?
Fantastic, fantastic.
And I find that that works really well. Most people, if they're helpful, that's a key component here, because some people aren't helpful.
Right.
If they're helpful, they'll connect.
Right.
And so I do that for people probably 2 times a day.
Wow.
I connect people. And you know, it's really, again, it's nice for me though as a way to reconnect with these people as well.
Yes, and you're looking and you're not asking for anything. So as we wrap up, we're at the end of our, unfortunately at the end of our time, and it goes so quickly.
So much to say.
So much today, but I think we've given people some fantastic ideas about how do they bring LinkedIn to the next level. How do they do it in a positive, very proactive, very professional way?
Right, correct.
So I think connecting is the key word there, and to do it, and I think for people to remember really expanding their network. You're not asking for a job. In fact, you can't do that.
Yes,
but expanding your
job.
Right, expanding your network is the way you have to do it. And for most people, love to be helpful.
Yes,
and it benefits everyone. So really think about how you can expand your network and use it as a, I like how you say, LinkedIn is a tool to help you move forward.
And I just think if we all could just be a little bit helpful, it would really help a lot. Seriously, don't, you know.
Yes, it's true. Because it all comes back around. I find when I'm helpful to someone else, in some other way, someone else is helpful.
Yeah, and you feel good when you're helpful.
You do. You're like, whoa, okay, I did that.
Yeah.
I mean, even if it's something simple, you're like, okay, I helped that person move forward. So I think that's a key piece. Well, thank you very much, Abby. Really appreciate you coming
Thank
on once
you.
again. And we're very excited to add you to our guest host venue.
I know. I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah, no, I think that's fantastic. So stay tuned to Picking Up the Pieces because Abby Grant will have her own guests on, so that would be fantastic. And I want to remind people, as we're talking about social media, to check us out. We're still on our previous title, which is www.youtube.com/employment for all. So you can see both all of our Employment for All, many of our key episodes, and now going forward, many of our Picking Up the Pieces episodes. So people can check that out. So it's a fantastic resource for people.
Great.
So we look forward to having you coming back as a host.
Thanks, Kim.
Thank you very much, Abby. We'd like to say thank you very much to the Department of Mental Health who showcases and also funds our show, Picking Up the Pieces. And thank you very much for our viewers, once again, for tuning in. And we'd like you to look out for someone who might just be in need of that help to reach their full potential. So thank you very much. This is Kim Bissett saying have a great day.